welcome back to Saturday afternoon, and hello, Ebru Yazıcı. Sensing Sound, the Art of Improvisation is the title of her presentation.
Thank you. Every cloud has a silver lining. I want to say hi with this saying or aphorism more correctly, since this became a motto of my research from the beginning. My research has a synchronous start with the pandemic, and as a result of this, my research, which is an ethnographic study that requires extensive field research and was initially designed as a descriptive research, found itself as a position of an exploratory research. And these were the times when my first encounter with exploratorium took place. This was during the times following the pandemic descended as a cloud on us, and encounters of those days, such as encounter with exploratorium, became the silver walls of this lining, silver linings of this cloud. That is the explanation why it's so important for me to be here today, and it's meant a lot to me. So that's why, once more, thank you very much. My name is Ebru Yazıcı. I'm currently carrying out my ongoing doctoral project at the ethnomusicology program of the Music Research Institute at University of Würzburg. So I'm an ethnomusicologist. In addition, my research partnership in the study based on the computational approach on timbre also continues. My exploratory research is an ongoing work on the phase of transcriptions and the evaluations of the interviews and the musical data. Writing process will be following, and the whole work is expected to be executed in the next 1.5 years according to the approved time schedule. Today, I'm here to emphasize the interconnections between my research questions with the perspective of musicians, which I prefer to call performers. This is the request from them. And I detected so far as current stage of my work. And following my brief introduction of my study, firstly, I will share the detective interconnections, and secondly, I will address some specific issues with the wish to discuss collaboratively here. My work has initially established on the question of how does the development of extended performance practices in the contemporary music scene impact the development of grassroots community. In doing so, I have carefully avoided from the tendency of idealization, which is the majority of the previous research on improvisation with the focus on social and sociological aspects has been employed. And as well as I did the same in terms of music theoretical perspectives on the improvised music scene. Rather, I focus on sound and embodiment practices through the look at the impact of the music itself and establishments of the music itself on the community. Considering it as a socially, culturally, and historically specific noise organization, referring to Atali, I defined the act of collective free musical improvisation as the deep descent into interaction of performers and non-living objects within the circumambient context of resources, forces, and intergenerative energies. At the end, I built on previous works on improvisation by Borgo, Lewis, but I extended their work by studying in different cultural contexts and studying technological aspects and applying new analysis methods, which I'm going to explain more later. My dissertation is based on the field research that I conducted in Berlin and Hamburg in 2002 and 2003. And included fields of 56 concert observations that majority of them have been recorded based on a consent, field notes of comprehensive workshop that I participated in, and 62 in-depth interviews that I have conducted. The analysis process, based on thematic analysis methods on the interview transcriptions, continues with the help of qualitative data analysis software, in addition to ongoing dialogical analysis method adapted for musical analysis, A sound analysis software will employ for the deeper analysis phase of the prioritized selected performances. As a result, at this point where my study is situated, I will list both of overlapping features with the perspective of musicians in terms of finding and questions that arise as follows. Certainly the properly correlated and credited in the study in accordance with the given consents. So as we can see my PowerPoint share, my research project accepted at April 2020 and wait till the November 2021. And at November 21, there was the first concert of my fieldwork, which was the art of improvisation. And Tom is a part of this project. And from October 2021 till March 2022, I communicated with the performers, and also I online researched the project of the founder of the art of improvisation, Vladko Kuchan, project called DOAC, which is the dialogical analysis. And first concert was 19 and 20 November in Resonance Room in Hamburg. And the researching field started February 22 in Berlin. Now, on the December 2023, I started the transcribing the interviews and the musical analysis. And this descriptive research evaluated to the exploratory research. The project Hamburg is established since the 2015s. Now it is finding itself as the art of improvisation since the 2017. And the other research case study that I address it that way, the S-type music scene in Berlin. As we can coincide very, as we also, everybody is very familiar here, this research area has very technical and technological aspects and very much innovative approaches to the music making. And I defined the musical performers from this stage as the Bauman addressed, they are phenomenal individual beings in the global contemporary concepts. The consciousness of contemporary musicians is an intercultural and culturally transitive, various modular patterns and stimuli with different cultural backgrounds, and it creates a kind of musical identity patchwork by intertwining performance practice. Seeing themselves in other, these musicians transcend the common categories of musical styles and genres, thus creating the global history of human consciousness that contributes to development within the framework of the holistic and planetary awareness. And as Max Peter Baumann addressed, he was also our professor of in University of Würzburg. I define the musicians of our scene as the global contemporary individual beings who have the sort of a sensual capability. And this is the point that I want to address my aim of the research. My aim of the research is to contribute to field of ethnomusicology within the ethnographic research method, which offer possibilities for searching and embodied site-specific emergence of sensory remembering and experiencing that are being employed to be able to understand the free improvised music community through the way they establish their music and contribute to the establishment of the necessary terminology in improvisation. I believe that we have the lack of terminology, and defining a sort of a research method which is founded on the sensory approaches and founded on the phenomenology. It will be able to let us to create and establish this lack of the new terminology and lack of to overcome this lack of terminology in the field of free improvisation. And first overlaps, as I've mentioned, some of the findings, which is very beginning of the analyzing period, but some of the finding overlaps with the musician perspective that I can list as follows. As the way I define sensing, an improvisation practice is also a relational process to construct togetherness of the sensing subject through continuity. It appreciates simultaneously the both, the uniqueness, the singularity, in other words, and inevitability sharing. It is influenced by the interconnection by individual state of mind and embodiment environment. It is under the influence of inevitably role of technology and also socio-political development in transforming environment. It is dynamically constructed, spatially bounded. It is constant walk of musical memory. There is absolutely no ecstasy. It is possible to mention a collective subject that establishes itself through the practice of improvisation. And some of the questions arise: is improvisational performance an intellectual or instinctive process? How does the decision-making and mechanism work during the performance? How can we define the conscious-subconscious relationship during the performance? And during my research period, field research period, I also encountered some of the criticism from my field, and also some of the criticism to my field from the musical performers, such as the criticism on the methodology, for example, the participant observation. So my research also aims to question my field's methods, which is very often employed. As a closure, the aim of my research is contribute to field of ethnomusicology within the ethnographic research method, which offers possibilities of researching the embedded and site-specific emergence of sensory remembering. And in my humble opinion, I believe that when it comes to possible to understand that multi-layer generative process of free improvisation practices, its social responsibility will also increase. To understand these possible responsibility, it is important to understand more deeply the establishment of the music making. And before my last couple of sentences, I will play two musical examples. Which are simply reflecting, I choose from the consented ones, consented to be shared on the academic areas. And these are the ones that probably will be create a good view what I'm trying to talk about the research method to founding on the sensory phenomenon.
Okay.
I have another example. This was sought out. Most of us, do I need to introduce the project? Most of us already know. And this is another musical example of the peoples.
Questo poi è bellissimo. C'è una possibilità di comunicare cose, di trovarle. C'è la possibilità di fare le cose,
To conclude, the aim of research is to contribute to field ethnomusicology within the ethnographic research method, as I already said before, and then employed to be able to understand the free improvised music community through the way they establish their music, and contribute to establishment of necessary terminology on improvisation, which seems necessary. In my humble opinion, for the closer, I believe that when it comes possibility to understand multi-layered generative process of improvisation practices, it is social responsibility will also increase. Although I cannot see any clearly evidence enough to how much work that can contribute, meeting expectations at that point, it will have a place by voicing certain questions and alternative approaches out loud. So far, my research demonstrates that musical performers as free improvisers. In my study, break down barriers between performers and audience, and make musicking more accessible for non-professionals, and playing the intimate venues, offering interactive performances, and giving a variety of workshops, and doing all of this in their philosophy of gift giving. This is a sort of a notion that I tend to name as a contemporary sensibility. And it is also an overlapping future with the perspective of performers. Namely, it will be properly credited in the study in accordance with the given consents. I'm finalizing quotes from French philosopher Albert Camus: creating dangerously might be a responsibility for an artist, and remembering free improvisation as opposed to stopping, as generative process that on walk. Stopping, on the other hand, quoting Norwegian explorer Erling Kage, is the basic practice of power. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ebru. We don't have so much time left, but maybe for one question or remark.
Yeah, thank you, Ebru, very much for your contribution. And I found your material fascinating, like this electronic thing there. And I was asking myself, that kind of at least questions my idea of musical material, because an actor comes into this interaction that is not a human actor. And so I would like you to tell us more about that and how you conceive of that particular material. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. As I mentioned, it is I'm defining this scene as a interaction, as a existence of the individuals with the non-living objects. It is important to interaction with the objects as well, and for the musicians as well. It is that's why I'm addressing this technical and technological approaches. It's kind of a chapter in the research. And because the innovative approaches and insistence of the musicians, especially the case study, which is interconnected with the institution, as a music institution, as the governmental project as well. And this project calls Innovative Hochschule. So innovation is a very strong part of the music making of these musicians. It's a technical and technological as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this. I have a question to the, like, you're choosing the people you're talking to, and like also to record and to videotape. For me, to be honest, as also part of the Echtzeit scene, it was now very strange that you didn't say the names who we were just watching.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but this is like kind of, I think it's because
You're totally right. Because
yes, thank you.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're totally right. Because of, as I mentioned, everybody knows them because of it's written there as well at the beginning.
Or maybe then I...
Yeah, I'm sorry I can't go there, but it's written at the beginning here. Shout Out is the project of Burkhard Barnes, Vogel, and Mazen Kerbash.
Thank you. And the other one?
And the Peepholes is the project of Liz Albe, Matt Hall, and Antonio Borghini. And now I'm excited that please help me the name of the drummer.
Oh, it was Rudi Fischerlehner.
Yes, Fischerlehner. I'm so sorry. You're totally right.
Sorry for being so direct, but this is like kind of, you know.
You're totally right.
Like, thank you.
Thank you, Sabina.
Thank you, Ebru. I'm curious to read the final result in the end. We were also leading an interview, and it was very interesting talk to you. We'll continue in a moment with Silvana Figueroa-Dreher. All right, then I would like to welcome Silvana Figueroa-Dreher with her presentation, A Sociological Model of Improvisation Processes Based on Musicians' Experiences. I was really happy to have Silvana as a guest at Exploratorium already before, some time ago, 2 years, 3 years, I can't remember. But we had a long talk already. It's also on YouTube, so if you want to go even more into details, I can recommend this. Okay, Silvana.
Thank you, Matthias, very much. I'm not sure if the mic is working, or is it? Okay. So let's begin. Because I have many things to say. So that's right. I'm a sociologist, and I didn't have anything to do with improvisation at the time where I came across this book in a sociological congress. And the book is written by a German professor who was staying in a small town in Paraguay in South America, working not on improvisation but on something else, a sociologist. And he noticed as a German that everyday life was completely organized in this town around improvisation. So this was like the starting point for him to write this book, which is excellent and difficult to find. And I came across it in the Congress, and because I come from Argentina, I found it really interesting, and it made me conscious of the fact that we really improvise the whole time in Argentina. So I thought that was really interesting to look deeper into that. And but to analyze improvisation in everyday life is like really difficult, because who do you ask, like, and it's difficult. There is not like a kind of built discourse about improvisation in everyday life. So I decided to go to the arts, and then inside the arts I discovered that in music improvisation is really, really high and refined, developed, and the history of improvisation in music is like really impressive. So I decided to work with musicians. That's right. So I developed research questions, and like the first thing I thought was, okay, what improvising, this is doing something, right? So I have to work like from my side to approach this with action theory. This was my first idea, work with action theory. And but I noticed really after writing and presenting the project to the DFG, the German research institution, that interaction is really constitutive of individual action during improvisation processes. So of course I incorporated also the interaction theory to my project. So my data, I decided to work with free jazz musicians and flamenco musicians, because you have like this problematic idiomatic, non-idiomatic distinction. But just to compare, not in compare, because comparing you get much more ideas. It's more enriching than looking just at one phenomenon, right? Especially if you don't know, you haven't done research with those phenomena. I worked at the Universität für Musik und Darstellende Kunst in Wien, the University of Arts in Vienna, in a recording studio, where I invited free jazz and flamenco, each in different days, ensembles to improvise. Yeah, so I asked them, every ensemble, to improvise. Like freely, I didn't give any, time or something, and I video recorded them. Then I confronted them with what they had played, and I interviewed them. Like we would look at these videos together, and I would like ask them, okay, what happened here, and so on. And I recorded, of course, the interviews too. Then I asked every ensemble to select or to decide which improvisation they wanted to discuss with me. Like best and evaluation, please don't take it really literally. It was not like it was just to let them choose something and hear this discussion and understand some of the criteria they use to pick one of their improvisations to discuss. Maybe interesting would also work, not best, but interesting. So, and then I asked, when we had that interesting improvisation, I asked each of the musicians individually to look at that with me, and that he or she tell me what happened, what she or or he did during that, like to just to be able to reconstruct the individual perspective of the musician. So I recorded that again, and then I asked the group to discuss that with me. So I had really like the whole range, the whole perspectives of the people working there, from the or improvising from, the whole perspective, right? To reconstruct it. So I had at the end 24 hours of sound and video data, including, as I said, the performances, group interviews, and individual interviews with 14 musicians. I won't mention, no, I think it were, 14 musicians. I won't mention every name there. I'm sorry for that, but some of them I am going to cite. So the result of that was this book. You can, it's in German, but if you want to take a look of it, please do it after the presentation. And the book contains like the most important part of the book, of the research, is that I kind of condensed 4 dimensions that can help to explain an improvisation process, and this is the musical material, the interaction between the musicians' approach or attitude, and the emerging music. So at the end I had this model, and this is, like every model, a very simple representation of a process, but I would like to go deeper into the different dimensions. What I want to emphasize here is that this model is not static but dynamic. Like, you can think of musical material and its malleability, for instance, from a low to a high intensity or possibility. The same is with interaction. You can have more or less interaction between the musicians. You can have more or less openness, or more open or closed attitude towards what's happening, and the music can be more or less emergent. So you have a myriad of combinations there that are possible, right? So let's go to the musical material, the first dimension of my model. And I decided to make this presentation like taking some kind of paradigmatic statements that the musicians told me that helped me to understand what happened there. And talking about terminology, what I tried to do here also in terms of terminology and methodology, I work from it's evident from a qualitative perspective, and I come from a phenomenology side. So it was very important for me to kind of understand is better, comprehend the perspectives of the musicians, and not to like use that for, confirming some hypothesis or something like that. So I tried really to condense something that they were teaching me. So that's right. So Alexander von Schlippenbach, the Schlippenbach trio was there working with me for some wonderful days. And so one of the statements of Alexander von Schlippenbach, when I asked, what is it all about? What happens there? What did you do there? He said in German, I translated it, we also name it material, what we have, what we use, which also is perhaps based on exercises we practice. But this does not mean that we now memorize and repeat certain things, but rather that in play there is material that we improvise on. So this was really helpful for me and really enigmatic at the same time. But it helped me to understand that something called material is the base for the player's musical action and interaction. But what is material? And it was obvious that material, he was not talking about material in a material like talking of material things, right? Because you cannot have the piano in your hands, right? So what is he talking about? And this is the basis to improvise. So analyzing the whole statements of the musicians, I came across, or I developed an idea of material that has many dimensions. Yeah, he was talking, and others were talking about material in three ways. The first way was the material dimension of materials, like the instruments and the recordings, the LPs or whatever. Then they were talking of a knowledge dimension, the one on the right, the knowledge dimension of material, like they can do that, they have that in their hands because they have incorporated this knowledge. They have a huge experience that is incorporated. We phenomenologists talk about sedimented experience. Knowledge is sedimented experience for us. So this is what they were talking about, right? And then the dimension which connects the other ones is the perceptible dimension of material, which is the action dimension, generating the sounds. So material is really a key concept for me to understand what happens there. So these three subdimensions I talked about. That's right. So again, this the last part of the statement of Alex von Schlippenbach, but rather that in play there is material that we improvise on. That was a great discovery, and it was for me a discovery because I'm a sociologist. Probably it's not a discovery for the musicians and others that are experts in this thing, but for sociology, and for especially for sociology of knowledge. There was no account of that, right? So it was really a discovery. And besides that, musical material is malleable, is flexible. You can model it. And here I also have to say that in musicology, I was like reading about improvisation in musicology, and in many papers you find the idea, or you found the idea. This was like 15 years ago or longer. The idea of improvisation was often like musicians like combine the same sequences in different ways each time, but the sequences were thought as kind of fixed sequences. And what I discovered was that everything was malleable, that there is no, like, the idea was like, it's like a kaleidoscope, you say, like, so, but no, this was not the case at all. It was something much more flexible and malleable, talking about material. And attached to that, you form your material as you go along improvising. You form it. You don't take the fixed sequences and combine them in any other way. So, and this has, of course, many consequences for action theory, may I here say, because action theory in sociology and many other humanities sciences think of action as the realization of of a project of action. So you have to like project or plan your action, and then you decide to carry it, and then you act. So you are in action. And the things that I was discovering here were completely contradictory to this idea of a project of action. Also in the phenomenology, right? Alfred Schutz talks of the project of action and the realization of action. So this was not happening at all here. So I took that into account, and I had a kind of angry faces in the phenomenology groups and sociology groups, but you have to live with that then. So, so why is it possible to form the musical material in real time while improvising? Like, if you don't have any project of action at all, so how do you go there and do something? Like, for maybe stupid for you to think of that question, but for us sociologists, it was really so. Hey, so how do we do? How do we understand that, right? So what do they have there? You know, so. This one of the statements that helped me was like, I'm sorry I didn't translate that. Everything that I have done till now, everything that has to do with my musical experiences is like flowing, is like coming to my mind, or is there. When I improvise, I can like use that, you know, and this is the material as knowledge, as sedimented experience, right? This was Michael Griner. That's right. Because of this knowledge dimension of the musical material, the sedimented experiences that you can improvise. Of course, you can improvise without experience, but this wouldn't be a very good improvisation, right? So babies can improvise, maybe. Well, would you call it improvisation? Probably not, right? So it's also about the quality of the improvisation. I could improvise also, but it would be really boring, you know, nothing interesting there, because I don't know how to do that, so I don't have experience. And I found recently this statement, which is from Paolo Antonelli, the chief curator of the MoMA for design, and I found it really, really poetic and interesting. Like, the object in our case, the improvisation, is only one moment in the life of a material, and this is the same idea, right? That you have your knowledge, your experience, your material there, and it like takes form in different moments, and she was talking about like plastic or something, you know, it's the same, like it takes form in an object, and then it's like maybe reconverted to something else or whatever. So I found it really good to understand my idea of material also. So material as knowledge encompasses a system of expertise. Paul Berliner, in this case, I got this from him, the system of expertise, and from others. This is the individual dimension of knowledge as sedimented experience. But of course, there is also a collectively shared knowledge, the intersubjective knowledge, because there are communities there, and there are artists and musicians exchanging material knowledge all the time. There's another dimension of material, with statements like, I thought here of a drum solo when we're analyzing or looking at the improvisations. Alexander von Schlippenbach said, I thought here of a drum solo, but it wasn't there, and Paul Lovens confirmed that, I missed a drum there. And this has to do with the perceptible dimension of musical material, the action dimension. And this is expressed at the moment of sound generation and configuration. And there you are dealing with instruments and with the material of the other players. So sometimes there is something that you had in mind, but materially it was not there, right? Like the drum. Another important idea here is that malleability is a concrete problem in terms of the tension between if you are working like with idiomatic music, like with genres like flamenco, there is a tension between the material's prefixed elements, like the rules of the genre, and the shaping of new materials. In flamenco there are things that you cannot do because you are out of flamenco, and this is probably not the case in free jazz, but we can discuss that because I had lots of comments about that subject. It's important here to remark that also prefixed materials, that are not are just vehicles to develop improvisation, right? So the second dimension of material is interaction. I lost the time thing. Oh, I have to really hurry up. So Ivan Parker told me it's a dynamic reality. It's how things work. How is this conversation happening? If we don't take it in terms, we can't have a conversation. So there is some sort of, I have to listen to what you are saying and respond. That's feedback already. That's it's very simple notion of it, but it's everywhere. And once you start to see it and the power of it, so interaction is a constitutive factor in improvisational processes, because individual action unfolds as a response, so to say, not to every material, but to some material played by the other musicians. Interaction can vary in intensity, and the genre's degree of structuring influences the intensity of interaction, because in a genre, the rules of that, like in flamenco, the voice leads, the guitar follows. So, you don't have to negotiate all the time who is, playing and so on. But in free jazz, you don't have this rule. So interaction is negotiated all the time. So the intensity of that is different, right? So this is what I was saying right now. And successful or interesting interaction has to do with empathy, with impulses. These were like words that mostly the free jazz musicians were talking about, impulses, reflexes, nature, metaphors, but I can unfortunately not extend on that. Michael Griner again, because I know my instruments so well. For instance, these small toys and things that I have here, I know them so well in terms of their sound that I sometimes hear something and I feel the impulse that I have to catch immediately this thing and play. And I notice in the moment that I hit that, this was exactly the sound that I heard. So this is really weird for me. This was really weird for me. Like, what is he talking about when he says listening? Because I play that and I hear was exactly the sound that I heard, but he didn't hear it, right? So this was very interesting, and for me, it like helped me to explain the generative creative dimension of action and interaction in improvisation processes, and this is a very phenomenologic thing here. Listening means on one hand perceiving sounds, like they come from the outside and they are inputs, right? But in the moment that they react to that, they listen a musical idea. And this I would call, in a phenomenologic terminology, a creative representation. I cannot go deeper into that, but it's like really interesting that he was talking about something that it was in his mind, and it was like in the moment of the interaction where he perceived something, that he listened an idea in his mind and at the same time realized that, put that in action, and it was exactly what he had heard. So this is highly professional, highly professional thing here taking place, right? So it wouldn't happen to me probably. So the third dimension, the musician's approach or attitude. Here it was Christian Weber who gave me many ideas, and he was talking about to develop an attitude. How do I deal with the things around me? That is basically to look at what is there. What do the others do? How does it work with me? So I relate it actually a lot to everyday life. So the other musicians agree, yes, in any case. And so he says a form of hyper everyday life, like Hyperalltag, no? Auf Schweizerdeutsch. This was really the importance of getting which is the approach of the improvising musicians. There is something there, there's an attitude there, and this came all the time to the discourse, right? It's not one statement. And this also has to do, as you see here, with the relationship of the musicians to the contingency present in the playing. So it's about the readiness or not to integrate unanticipated, unplanned, and coincidental material into one's own, or create a connection while playing. And this readiness, of course, can be higher or lower. You have like many things that are connected with this kind of approach. You know that probably, like non-reflexive condition, relaxation, and high degree of alertness, the concentration of here and now, we heard it already today, loss of control, for me, it was really interesting from the action theory side to think about the deployment of automatic procedures, because like for action theory, either you play automatic or you play creatively, and there is no creative automatism, right? But this was happening here, and the book of Paul Berliner, Thinking in Jazz, helped me a lot. This is a treasure. This book is a treasure. Because he explains there that you know that already. like when you are playing together and it really works and the connection is really good and the dynamic of the improvisation goes higher and higher and more intense, then there is a kind of feeling that you are like really connected, and you begin not to think anymore and just to play in connection with the others, and their generation interaction happens at a very, very intense level. So this kind of automatism, we know it, not the sociologists at that time, the psychologists know like kleptomany or something like that. This is also impulse, and it's not thinking, and it's like you do something, but it's like kind of, it's like these are diseases, right? Krankheiten, diseases. So it's like a pathological thing. It's not good to happen, you know, but this is not a disease and it's not pathological. I think it's like a very generative, very welcome way of acting, right? So, and the last dimension of my model is the emergent dimension of the music. And Oscar Guzman, this is a flamenco guitar player, said, well, you know, they don't improvise in such a radical way, but they said many similar things to the free jazz improvisers, and one of them was a theme that sounds each time the same becomes a museum piece. You know, you don't want to do that, and it's even impossible to repeat every theme, every song, every kind of subgenre of flamenco the same way. You don't want to do that, so they, of course, they improvise also. So this leads to what I call emergent music. And the emergent music, I heard this idea of emergent music before here. It's like the living music developing during the playing and moving past genre-specific rules of performance, like in flamenco, arrangements and other fixed structures. It's like the unplanned part of the music, or the not fixed or whatever. And the degree of emergence of the music can vary from low to high. Also in free jazz improvisation, right? Because it doesn't always happen that, you know, you reach this high intensity of emergent music. Alex von Schlippenbach says, we are striving to letterize a musical flow. Fluss is like flow and river in German. A forward movement that is very important. And this was really interesting for me because it let me understand that you begin in free jazz, for at least this kind of free jazz, with offering materials in a very like subtle way at the beginning, and you are trying like to integrate the material of the others and to form like the lines of action that they come together and give like the music a dynamic and intensity. So this is what he's talking about when he says a forward movement, if I interpreted that right. Emergent music has a twofold significance: as music that only emerges in the playing and is therefore unpredictable, and as music that is not to be equated with the sum of the individual lines of musical activity, like it's more than the sum of the individual lines of activity, right? So you have, this is really interesting for also in a sociological way, you have like bottom-up elements and processes, like every musician is offering some material and it goes like in the direction of the group. But then when this really happens, that the music becomes really emergent in a very intensive way, you have also top-down processes. And this is like I think it was Christian Weber that said, like, or Paul Lovens that said, the music tells us or shows us where to go, you know. And it's he said, like, it's like a river. If you are in this kind of intensity and you want to, like, row against the river, you won't be able to do that. So I found it really fascinating, because for action theory and interaction theory, it's like you have another actor there. You have another, like, person or some instance that is also guiding the action and interaction. So this is a model again, and yeah, I don't know how long I've been talking now, Matthias. Are we in time? I have 5 minutes. Okay, so okay, this is a model again, and some closing comments. I tried to give a definition of improvisation that was according to my project or the results, and that is like musical improvisation can be thought of as the situated interaction-led modeling of musical material. The dimensions, the model is really complex because the dimensions influence each other reciprocally, which leads to multidirectional causality, and so that has to be developed, right? So I stopped there, but because I didn't have any more money to work on it, not because I wasn't interested. So the model considers, this happens in academia, you know, and you know it also, right? So the model considers improvisational processes with a continuum between minimum and maximum of improvisation, like, yeah, that's right. Improvisation is not a phenomenon pertaining only to certain degree genres or musical parameters, since it signifies the ubiquitous dealing with contingency. It rather plays a role to different degrees in all musical expression. And now I'm talking to the ethnomusicology, which not ethnomusicology, but musicology, where some authors define improvisation according to different parameters. If it's taking place in the most significant parameters, it's like improvisation, and it's like talking to that authors. So. Okay, creativity was, of course, a question to me, and so I discovered there that it unfolds step by step on the basis of many small innovations. And of course it shows that the borders between absolute and relative improvisation, as well as between composition, improvisation, and interpretation, are really fluid. So, new developments. I hope that the model helps to understand and also further researching on other improvisation forms, as well as to introduce and value them in other areas. Like I'm working now with free play, for instance, with children, and we have a lot to learn about how they do that, right? Because huge area again, but thank you very much for listening. I'm ready.
Yeah, thank you so much, Silvana. We don't really have time for questions anymore, unless we don't want to use our coffee break for this. So maybe I just recommend to talk during the coffee break to Silvana.
Let me just show you a little bit of what we're recording there.
Okay.
Just a little bit. Paul Lobens, Alexander von Schlippenbach, Ivan Parker. So you see how they entangle their materials so wonderfully. So thank you very much again.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's really such a rich research. Actually, I think your book should really be translated into English. Do you have someone already?
No,
if anybody knows.
I tried to, but yeah.
But I think it would be worth to translate it in English also.
Yeah.
Just one remark. So we'll have 30 minutes of coffee break. Afterwards, we will hear John Butcher talking about his Resonant Spaces project. And afterwards, there will be a participatory performance, kind of Georg Wissel. He prepared something really interesting. He needs you to talk in trios about improvisation. He will explain later. But of course, you're still free to also join the group in Studio 2. Okay, see you later.